Hi guys, welcome to the new video today. Today is the Premier League prediction 2019-2020, the upcoming season, which starts in about 2 weeks. So I'll go straight into it because I don't want this video to be too long and I'm tired and I'm recording this quite late because I just want to get it done and then edit it in the morning if I can be bothered to do that, which is what's going to happen because I am committed, so I am going to edit it. So let's go straight into it. As I've already said, 20th I'm going to put Sheffield United. I think they will finish last. Yes, they did come up to the Premier League by automatic promotion. They finished second in the Championship, so they did clinch that last automatic place. But I don't feel like as if they've improved their team as much. Yes, they've made a couple of signings, and they're looking to bring back Dean Henderson, their goalie they had last year. He was a Man United player who they had on loan, who was really good for them last year. But I still think they haven't really improved enough, and they haven't had much Premier League experience for them to stay up. So Norwich will be 20th. No, not Norwich, sorry. Sheffield United will be 20th. In 19th, I've put Norwich. They obviously won the Championship, which is good for them. They had a couple of decent players, but they also haven't strengthened much either. They brought in Farman, and that's the I know they have brought in other players, but again the experience. Obviously, they have the experience of Farman, Champions League goalie. He's a really good goalie. He's experienced. They have Aarons, the right back, who's a really good right back, young defender, who Man United were going to get if they didn't get Wan-Bissaka. And they have Pukki up front, who I know is a lethal striker for them. But other than that, they just needed to add a bit more quality, a bit more experience, so they could adjust into the Premier League. But I think they won't finish last, but I think they'll finish 19th and they will get relegated. So Norwich to be relegated at 19th. In 18th, I have put... No, sorry, in 18th, yes, that's correct. I have put Brighton because Brighton are just... They've made one major signing. That was that of someone for 15 million. But that's literally about it. They have the same squad. They struggled a bit last season at times. And I think they will struggle this season. But they won't get relegated. They will struggle, but they'll do well enough that they don't get relegated. So Brighton to finish. Sorry, wait, yeah, Brighton to get relegated. Sorry, I've just realised that I said 17th instead of 18th. But yeah, it should be 18th. Brighton will get relegated. I think they did struggle at times, as I've said. I think they will struggle a bit too much this season. They will go back down. Yes, they do have Glenn Murray, but maybe his goals won't be enough for Brighton to stay up. So Brighton 18th, sorry I said 17th earlier. Now we're going to 17th and I've put Burnley. Same again, they're not really good enough. They've struggled last year massively at times. They were losing a lot of games. But the thing is with Burnley, yes they will lose a lot of games, but they will just about avoid relegation with 17th place. That's why I put them there. They've got some couple of decent players who could score them goals. They've got Tarkowski, of course, the defender. They've got Pope. So they have got decent players in some areas, but overall their squad's not as great. So, but I still think they will avoid relegation. So Burnley to finish in 17th. In 16th, I'm going to go with Southampton. Again, not really the greatest team in the world. Sorry, I just had to pause it for a second. So yeah, as I was saying, Burnley to finish 17th. In 16th, I will put Southampton. Again, same thing. They weren't great last season. They were on some poor form. I think they sacked their manager. And yeah, they were struggling last year, and I think they're going to struggle again. Obviously, they've signed a winger, can't remember his name, and they've signed Che Adams from Birmingham. from Blues for like 15 mil, who obviously is a really good striker, but he might be able to score the goals, but still at times Southampton do look terrible. So yeah, I think they'll stay up and they'll get 16th, which seems about right for Southampton for now anyway, for this season. For 15th, I have put Aston Villa. I think they will stay up comfortably, 15th. They've spent over 100 mil. They've spent more than any other team in the Premier League. They've spent 4th amount in Europe. And yeah, it's the 4th amount in Europe. They've spent a lot of money. And yes, not always spending a lot of money is great, because it could mess up the team. Because they have signed a lot of players and they might not have chemistry with each other, which could be an issue. But if the manager does it right, as in he implements the new players, he doesn't get rid of all the old players that he had and just uses the new players, then it could work. Obviously, like Tyrone Mings, he was there before. They've signed a striker, they've signed a midfielder, they've signed some players that they had on loan permanently. They have signed a lot of players, so it's whether to see these players will play well, but the players they have signed are decent players that should be able to keep Villa up. So, and obviously they have Jack Grealish as well. So realistically, Villa should stay up with all these transfers because they are decent players. So 15th sounds about right for Aston Villa. In 14th, I have put Crystal Palace, and to the simple fact that, okay, yes, they haven't made any signings whatsoever, I don't think. No, they signed RU and probably, I don't know who else they've signed, but they still have Zaha. And there's something I'll mention later in the video, which, you know, may mean that they will keep Zaha, so they will have Zaha for next season, unless he does something. So, obviously, Palace sometimes can play really well, sometimes can be really bad. They've got some decent players. They've got Milivojevic, they've got Van Aanholt, they've got not Benteke. They had Wan-Bissaka, who was really good for them last year, and obviously they have Zaha, who was their goal scorer, was their main threat. And if they keep Zaha, they do have a chance of, obviously, I think if they do keep Zaha, they won't get relegated, and I think they will get 14th, because that Palace side, some games are really hard to play against. So if they keep Zaha and he's happy, then I think Palace can get a nice 14th place finish this season. 13th, I've put Newcastle. If you would have asked me if I'd done this prediction when Rafa Benitez left and they didn't sign anyone, I would have said relegation for sure. But the reason why I've put Newcastle 13th is because they sold Jose Perez, and obviously they broke their transfer record to sign Joelinton from Hoffenheim for 40 mil. He's really, really good up-and-coming striker, and I think he'll do really well in the Premier League. So well that he'll help Newcastle a lot. Newcastle aren't the worst team in the world. They've got decent players. They've got a decent goalie. They've got a decent right back. They've got a decent centre back. Their midfield is a bit meh, but they do have some semi-decent midfielders. And now that they have Joelinton as their striker, who's a really clinical, lethal striker, Newcastle are looking semi-good. And they have Almiron, who they signed in January. So Newcastle are building something. I think they have a good enough team to easily avoid relegation. So I think a good 13th place finished sounds just about right for Newcastle with what they've done so far. 12th, I've put Bournemouth. I know Bournemouth have signed a defender. I think it was from Bristol. But other than that, haven't really signed anyone. But even with them not really signing anyone other than that defender, Bournemouth do have some decent players. They have, obviously, Josh King. They have Callum Wilson. Obviously, they have Ryan Fraser, who Arsenal were linked with at the start. And it looked like we were going to sign, but we've kind of calmed down on it. And we're not going to sign Ryan Fraser. I'll mention, we'll talk about Arsenal later. That will be a couple minutes long anyway. So, yeah. Bournemouth, they have some decent players. They have a decent team. They've signed one player, but they don't really need to sign much, because they're not going to be challenging for Europa or anything. So they just need to secure their mid-table finish. So I think 12th is a fair a fair judgment of where Bournemouth could finish. In 11th, I have put Watford. Obviously, Watford had a really good season last year, actually. Can't remember where they finished, but I know they had a decent season. Obviously, got to the FA Cup final. Yes, they got battered 6-0 by City, but that doesn't matter. They got to the final. They good comeback against Wolves. So they play really well football, and they can play some good football at times. They've obviously got a threat. They've got obviously Doucouré. They've got Deulofeu, who can be a threat. They've got Pereira. They've got Troy Deeney, who we all know about. So yeah, 11th, mid-table. They won't get nowhere near relegation, but they won't really challenge for Europe or anything with the other teams. So I think 11th just seems to suit Watford. In 10th, I have put Everton. This could change. Well, it's not going to change in this video, but they might not finish 10th. The reason why I've said they're going to finish 10th is because they haven't really improved on their squad from last season. They have signed Lossell, who won't play because Pickford's going to start. And they've signed Andre Gomez on a permanent, who they had last season. So they haven't really built on what they had. But that could change. And that's because they've been linked with Moise Kean from Juve, who's a striker. They've been linked with him for 36 million. So if they get him in, he's a really good up-and-coming striker. And he's young, he's quick, he's strong. So he could be really good in the Premier League. And also Everton are linked with Zaha for 60 mil. So if they get the Zaha deal done, you know, that's another winger. And they already have some decent players. Like Everton, they have Richarlison, who's really good, 2-4. He can make an impact. You have Sigurdsson, who's arguably Everton's best player. So yeah, Everton haven't really improved their squad, but that can all change. Still 2 weeks of the window left. You never know. Everton could make some changes, buy Zaha, buy Keane, and look really strong with Richarlison and Sigurdsson. In 9th, I'm going to put Leicester City. They have a really decent, very decent squad. They signed Tielemans on a permanent. They signed Jose Perez. They're signing and they're building a really well-balanced team. On top of already the decent players that they have, like Schmeichel, Vardy, Tielemans, Maguire. They have a lot of strong players. Well, Maguire, maybe not, but at the moment in time, he is a Leicester City player. So they do have him at their disposal to use. So if Leicester manage to keep Maguire and Tielemans plays how he did, Vardy plays how he usually does, Perez is good, then Leicester could be looking at a 9th place finish. But even if they play at that intensity, that level, they might even creep into 8th or 7th and get Europa League spot. You never know with Leicester. But because they have a really good team, really balanced team. So at 9th, I'm going to put Leicester. At 8th, I have put West Ham. The reason why I put West Ham is they've signed some good players this window. They've signed Fornals from Villarreal, who's a really good player on the ball. Really good midfielder who we were linked with, but we didn't get him because we didn't really try. And they've also obviously signed Haller from Frankfurt for 45 mil. Obviously, the only reason why they did that is because they lost Arnautovic, because he just wanted to go to China. He wanted to leave. But that's him, and they've replaced him with Haller, who's a really good striker, tall, powerful. He's a really clinical, lethal finisher. And I feel like with Haller and what West Ham already have, they can really do well this season, because their squad, West Ham's squad next season looking decent. Obviously they have Haller, who they've just signed. They have Felipe Anderson, who we all know how good he is, and they have Declan Rice, who we all know had a really good season last year, and obviously broke into the England team. So you're really impressed. But I think 8th seems about right for West Ham. I think they'll have a really good season. In 7th place, I will put Wolves. Obviously, we all know about Wolves. They got promoted last season. Last season was the first season in the Prem for a long time. And they shocked everyone. They played some really, really good football. They have a really strong team. They play really well against big teams. Especially caused them, big teams, a lot of problems. They have Jimenez, who's a really good striker. Jota is good. Neves is good. They've got a really balanced team. And they had a lot of players on loan last year. They made those signings permanent. They haven't really brought in any players as such. They've brought in Vallejo from Real Madrid on loan. By Catrone. They're looking at Khedira, and they're also looking at Moise Kean with Everton. These are potential signings, but if they don't really sign them, it doesn't really matter because Wolves still have a strong team, and I think that Wolves will finish 7th and clinch a Europa League spot again. Not to mention that obviously Wolves going to the FA Cup semi-final as well, which is really good for them. So yeah, 7th place seems about right for Wolves, and I think that Wolves fans will be really happy if they finish 7th. But with the squad they have, they could finish 2nd, and 7th, not 2nd, 7th, and they would deserve it. So now we're on to the big prediction, the top 6. This is where, well, for me, it's gonna get a bit tasty. In 6th, we have Man United. The reason why Man United, they haven't sorted out their problems. They still have crap players. They still have Jones. They still have Smalling. They still have all these deadwood players. They still have Ashley Young. They still have these crap players. In the transfer window, they've only signed Daniel James, who he won't impact the Man United team as much as if they signed a really, really good winger, because he's not proven. He's obviously only played for Swansea. Obviously, he could surprise everyone, but can't guarantee it. He needs to be played and given time, but personally, I think that he won't do it in his first season. I think Daniel James will need some time to adjust, but he won't get off the ground running. He'll be a slow burner. He'll be a good signing eventually, but not right now. And Man United need someone right now. Also, they've signed Wan-Bissaka. We all know that. Because obviously Wan-Bissaka is a really good right back. Signed from Palace for, 50 million. That's a really good signing. But still, obviously, it doesn't fix their defence. They still have Chris Smalling and Phil Jones. Obviously, Man United are heavily linked with Harry Maguire. They had a 70 mil bid rejected from them. And they might be losing Pogba as he wants to leave. He wants a new challenge. And they might also be losing Lukaku. So, potentially, they might fix their defence with the signing of Maguire. So, they would have signed 2 defenders, Wan-Bissaka and Maguire. But they may potentially be losing Pogba, who's really important to the Man United team. Man United fans hate on him, but he's literally your best player. So, why would you hate on him? If you lost Pogba, you're pretty much screwed. And Lukaku, I mean, you don't really need Lukaku. He's terrible. His touch is awful. I mean, he can score goals, but he's not a striker that can do really well in the Premier League. Well, at least for Man United anyway. Even though he's done really well for Everton and West Brom in the past, Man United just not the team for Lukaku. And obviously, if Man United keep Pogba, that's really good for them, because Pogba is obviously a world-class player. We all know how good Pogba is. So there's no denying that. And also, De Gea signed a new contract. So that just ensures that, you know what, he's not going to leave Real Madrid or any of those teams. Not going to come in for De Gea. So Man United should be fine with their goalie situation. But still, they're a mess in terms of defence if they don't sign Maguire. They're just a mess in general. So Man United finished in 6th. In 5th, we're going to go with Chelsea. The only reason why I put Chelsea 5th is because obviously they're transfer banned, so they can't really sign any players. So obviously it's a bit crap, isn't it, mate? And the only good thing is for Chelsea, obviously they've got a new manager in Frank Lampard, club legend. You've got to admit to it. And Chelsea have got a lot of young players with high potential who could really do well and step in this season. Obviously they've signed Pulisic, which they signed in January, and he's going to be in the squad this season. They also complete the permanent transfer of Kovacic, who he will be in the team permanently as well. So, but that's the only two, that's the only two players they've signed, obviously, but that's all they could have done. Obviously, they've lost Hazard, which for them, Chelsea fans know, Brandon knows, that he's going to miss him a lot. It's a big miss for him and his team. But Hazard wanted to leave. He stayed loyal to Chelsea, and fair enough, he did deserve the move. He's a world-class player. We all know Hazard's a world-class player. We all know what he did to us, as Brendan Langston mentioned, because he's a great friend. I'm joking, we just mess about, and I mentioned crap to him too, so it's fine. But yeah, on to Chelsea. They've got young potential. They've got, obviously, Mason Mount, who's been really good in pre-season. They've got Hudson-Odoi, who's been really impressive, and he had his breakout season last year, got into the England team as well. And obviously they've got Kante, and we all know about how good Kante is. So yeah, in 5th place, I'm going to put Chelsea. In 4th, Spurs. Personally, for me, I could not put Spurs. I didn't have it in me to put Spurs above Arsenal, so I'm going to put Spurs. So as I just said, I didn't have it in me to put Spurs in front of Arsenal, and yeah, I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it. I'm not gonna. No, it's not happening. And plus, obviously, they're the crappiest team in North London. They literally have nothing to their name, so why would they finish 4th? They have nothing. Yes, they got to a Champions League final. Well, but they still lost. Obviously, we got to a Champions League final. We lost, but we win. We have won trophies in the past, whether that be FA Cups. Yes, recently it has been FA Cups, but that's more than Spurs. We've won 3 leagues. We've won leagues. We've won pretty much everything except the Champions League. Spurs have nothing to their name. They obviously they went for two. I can't speak. Spurs and Arsenal went to sign 2 players, William Saliba and Dani Ceballos. It was known that Spurs wanted them, and they both knew that Spurs wanted them, and Arsenal both wanted them. But obviously, the pair of them used their common sense, used their brain, and they picked Arsenal over Spurs. In William Saliba's interview, he mentioned the reason why, and he said the badge and the history. Obviously, we all know Spurs have no history. They have nothing to their name, as I've just said. So, why would you join them? Anyway, enough of that. Also, Spurs have only signed 1 player, Ndombele. That's it. That doesn't make them less of a bottle job than they already are. Obviously, I know you could say Arsenal are a bottle job, but we're not going to speak about that. And so, yes, they've only signed Ndombele. They lost 2 players to Arsenal. And Ndombele won't fix all their problems. Obviously, they still have Son, Kane, Ali, Eriksen. But they still have that most of the same team. Obviously, Trippier's gone. They need some backup right back. They're trying to offload players. It's not looking great for Spurs. Trippier said in his interview that there was some behind-the-scenes problems and issues at Spurs, and that's why he had to leave. So at Spurs right now, it's not looking great. They need players. They need defenders for cover. They need to make sure that Son, Ali, Kane, Eriksen, they don't want to leave, because if I was Son, I would leave. If I was Eriksen, who was in his last year of his contract, I think Eriksen will leave. I think he will join a bigger club than Spurs. He deserves a bigger club than Spurs. And yeah, that's pretty much it about Spurs, really. They will just about get into the Champions League with a 4th place finish, which I see that Spurs fans probably be happy with 4th place. So that's what fits them. So 4th place, we'll give it to Spurs. In 3rd, we're going to put my team, Arsenal. We're going to finish 3rd. It's a bit optimistic, but I'd rather be optimistic than be negative about my team. If you would ask me a couple of weeks ago, I probably would have put us 4th. But at the moment, a lot of exciting times are happening at Arsenal. Obviously, we signed Martinelli. He's a good youngster. And that was the only signing we made for a long time. And it was kind of worrying me. But then things over the past week have started to pick up. We've signed Saliba. Obviously, he'll go on loan next season to get more experience, but he's a really, really good defender. And once we get him back, he's going to be really good in our team. Obviously, Bellerin's yet to come back. He's going to be vital to our team. And our most important defender, Holding will be back. once Holding's back, you'll see the improvement in our defense, because he's actually a defender who can pass the ball and play with the ball at his feet and implement Emery's style that he wants to play out from the back. Rob Holding's really good at that before he got injured. And obviously, we signed Bios as well, who's going to be really vital. He's going to play that Ramsey role. He's got Ramsey's number. I'm hoping that he plays the same way Ramsey does, because if he does, that's going to be really good. And also, we've obviously been linked with Zaha, but that doesn't look likely. But I'm kind of glad, because there's other news along with that. Obviously, and Arsenal are very confident of getting the deal done for Tierney, so that's looking good. That's another defender, a left back to replace obviously Kolasinac, who is really good at going forward, but not as good at defending. But I know Tierney is really good at going forward and really good at defending, so that will improve our left side and really help us. And also the big one, obviously I'm happy with Tierney, Ceballos, Saliba, Martinelli. I'm happy about those players, but the player that's exciting me the most and potentially we could be signing is Nicolas Pepe. Obviously there's 4 big teams in for Pepe. It's Man United, Arsenal, Napoli, and Liverpool. But Arsenal at the moment seem like they're the team to get him. Apparently they've agreed the €80 million fee with Lille for him, and it's just down to the players and the agent of Nicolas Pepe to just accept the offer. And I have read rumours that Nicolas Pepe has accepted to join Arsenal, and the medical should be scheduled next week. So if that is true, very exciting times. Nicolas Pepe is a quality winger. Last season in the French league, he got 22 goals, second top scorer to Mbappe, 13 assists, and he will improve our attack. Our front three next year is looking scary. Aubameyang on the left, Lacazette in the middle, Pepe on the right, and then you have Ozil behind them if he performs to his max potential, the max performance he can, because Ozil on his day, when Ozil's at his best, there's no doubting he's world class. I know people doubt that because he's lazy and stuff, but when Ozil is playing at his best, he is the world class playmaker. And at times there's no one better, but at times you'd rather have anybody else. But hopefully, with Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil, Pepe, and the other new signings coming in, Arsenal, we will push on this season, and I genuinely think we will get Champions League football. This will be the last season we play in Europa League. Maybe sometimes they say you take 2 steps forward to go 2 steps backward to take 1 step forward. So I genuinely believe that Unai Emery needed 1 season to get used to how the Premier League is, and this season we're going to see a really different side to Arsenal, and a really good positive. I think we're going to have a really good positive season. I think we'll win the Europa League. I'm going to go for... I'll make too many predictions, aren't I? But screw it. I'm in the moment. I genuinely think we'll win the Europa League this season. Last season, obviously, final was disappointing. Last season in general was a bit disappointing. But I think we'll bounce upon that. We'll get back up. We'll show our quality. We'll show what we really can do. And once we play... because when we play our best and our... no one can stop us. There's literally we can beat anyone on our day if we really put it to it. If we played as best as we can, we could know how to defend. Ozil performed, Aubameyang performed, Lacazette performed. When with Pepe, he's on his form, then we can be unstoppable. But for now, 3rd place is where I'm gonna put Arsenal. In 2nd place, I'm gonna put Man City. Yes, I do not think Man City are gonna win the league, which is pretty obvious as to who will win the league. Who I think anyway will win the league. The reason why I have put Man City 2nd, obviously they've signed Rodri, but that's literally it. They've lost their most important player in recent years, which has been Kompany, because he's been a leader, he's been the captain, he's been a very influential person in the dressing room, and they've lost him and they haven't replaced him. Whether someone can step up to the level of how Vincent Kompany was, I don't know if there's anybody like Vincent Kompany at Man City who is a leader like him. There could be players who could be leaders, but Vincent Kompany was a different type of leader. Like, he structured the thing. He did a lot for Man City. Obviously, Man City still have Aguero, De Bruyne, Sterling had an amazing season. Man City have good players everywhere, and they have depth, which is why they're so good. But I genuinely think that Man City, they won't have enough. Like last season, what they did, go 15 games in a row, winning to win the league. What the former Liverpool on, that was a one-off thing. I'm sorry, I don't think they can do that 2 years in a row. And yeah, even with Aguero fit, De Bruyne obviously will be fit and hopefully gets no injuries, and Sterling performing out, Man City won't win the league. So first, the team that I think, under no influence, may I add, that will win the league is Liverpool. Yes, Liverpool haven't really signed anyone. They haven't signed Van der Beek, who's pretty much a squad player. But Klopp's sticking with the team that they had last year. Obviously, last year they had a really good year. They only lost one game in the Prem. They were really close to winning the Premier League title. They won the Champions League, obviously, being Spurs in the final. But anyone can beat Spurs in the final. Spurs doing Spurs typical things, losing, bottling it in a final. But then we lost 4-1. But Spurs have bottled more finals than we have. So, yeah. So back to Liverpool. Yes, they haven't signed anyone, as we said, but if the same players perform the same way they did last year, I don't think Man City will be able to keep up with their performance. Because, as I've already said, Liverpool only lost one game, and they performed really well. So I think if Liverpool just carry on the way they were playing, if Liverpool carry on the same form that they ended last season with into the new season, they will win the league. Obviously, they have the front three we all know about: Mane, Salah and Firmino. We know how deadly they are. And Virgil van Dijk, who has literally put Liverpool in this position. Because without Virgil van Dijk, Liverpool would be nowhere near where they are now. Because their defence would have been awful. So yeah, that's it for my predictions. Put some comments in the in the comment section below of what you think. All the links and socials and whatever is going to be in the description. So I'm pretty much back now. So just to recap over the prediction. Relegation is going to be Brighton, Norwich and Sheffield United. Top 6 is Liverpool first, Man City second, Arsenal third, Tottenham fourth, Chelsea fifth and Man United sixth. So yeah, leave your opinions on the prediction down below. As I said, all the socials below, everything below. And yeah, on to the next video that will come out eventually soon. Anyway, whenever that is, I don't know. I'm going to be thinking of more ideas, stuff to come. So yeah, peace.